You want to reset your life? Good. Stop whining about your circumstances and take control. No one's going to hand you the life you dream of. You're not going to get it by sitting back and waiting for things to magically fall into place. Life is a grind. It's ugly, it's brutal, and it will beat you down if you let it. But here's the truth. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. That's the reset. You've been giving up on yourself for too long. Every time things get tough, you find a reason to quit. You blame your situation, your past, or your genetics. But let me tell you this, your past is just that. It's behind you. The only thing that matters right now is what you're willing to do today. Are you going to step up or keep playing the victim? The first step in resetting your life is taking full responsibility. Your life is your own creation. Every single choice you make leads you closer to the person you're going to be or further from it. You've been letting excuses control you, but they're not real. The pain, it's real. The struggle, it's real. But guess what? You've got the power to keep going, even when everything inside you tells you to quit. That's the reset. That's how you change. You need to be willing to embrace the suffering. If you're not willing to suffer, then you're not willing to grow. It's that simple. The hard days, they'll make you stronger. The days when you want to give up, they're the ones that will build your mental toughness. But you've got to keep moving, even when you're tired, even when you're hurting, even when it feels like you've reached the end of the road. You think the world owes you something? You think you deserve an easy ride? It's time to wake up. Life is a fight, and if you're not willing to fight for the life you want, then you don't deserve it. No one is going to give you permission to be great. You have to claim that for yourself. So here's the deal. You want to reset your life. Start with the hardest thing you can do today. Do it even though you don't feel like it. Do it when your body screams at you to stop. Do it when the excuses start flooding your mind. That's the reset. And once you've done it, do it again and again and again. Don't let the world define you. Don't let anyone or anything tell you what you can't do. You are capable of far more than you realize. But you have to dig deep and be willing to put in the work. You have to push through the darkness and come out on the other side stronger. That's the reset. And it starts now. You can't change your life until you take full responsibility for it. That means no more pointing fingers at your parents, your circumstances, your job, or the people around you. It means owning your choices, good or bad, and acknowledging that you are the one in control of the direction your life takes. Every setback, every mistake, every failure, and every success you've experienced is the result of decisions you made. Whether they were conscious or unconscious decisions, they were yours. And until you accept that, until you fully understand that, you'll never have the power to change anything. The problem is that most people go through life blaming others. It's easy to look at the obstacles and say, if only this hadn't happened, if only that was different, but that's where you're giving away your power. You're giving someone or something else control over your future. You're essentially saying, I can't do anything until my environment changes, and that's a lie. The truth is, it doesn't matter what's happened to you or where you came from. The only thing that matters is what you choose to do with what you've been given. The moment you take full responsibility is the moment you unlock your ability to change. When you blame others, you put yourself in a position of helplessness. You might think you're just acknowledging reality, but in reality, you're giving away your power. You're choosing to stay stuck in the past instead of focusing on what you can do right now. That's not freedom, that's a prison. You might not be able to control everything in your life, but you can always control how you respond to it. That's where your power lies. When you take responsibility for your life, you stop being a passive observer and become an active participant. You stop waiting for things to get better and start making them better yourself. I think about the times you failed. It's easy to look back and say, if only I had more money, more time, more support. But the truth is, those are just excuses. Everyone faces challenges. Everyone has to overcome something. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is simple. Those who succeed take responsibility. They don't wait for the world to change around them. They change themselves. They take ownership of their failures and their setbacks and learn from them. They don't see obstacles as roadblocks, they see them as opportunities to grow. Taking responsibility means accepting that everything you do is a choice. The way you spend your time, how you treat your body, your mindset, your habits, all of it is up to you. No one can do it for you. No one is going to come along and change your life. You have to take the reins. That's the only way you're going to get the results you want. It doesn't matter how tough things get, how many people tell you it's impossible, or how many times you fail. If you keep taking responsibility, you will eventually break through. It's not about blaming yourself for every mistake, but rather about owning your decisions and taking action to correct them. Every choice you make either brings you closer to your goal or takes you further away from it. When you own your choices, you stop waiting for the perfect circumstances. You stop making excuses for why you can't achieve what you want. You start looking for solutions, making adjustments, and pushing yourself to get better. That's the key to progress, not waiting for the stars to align, but choosing to move forward regardless of how difficult the journey is. Taking responsibility also means letting go of the victim mentality. You can't keep saying, "This isn't my fault," and expect to get anywhere. Victims don't change anything, they stay stuck. If you want to reset your life, you need to stop playing the victim. Life will never be perfect, and there will always be challenges, but the only thing that matters is how you respond to those challenges. Do you rise to the occasion, or do you let them define you? The choice is yours. When you take responsibility, you stop giving away your power and start taking control of your future. And that is the first step to resetting your life. Growth doesn't come from comfort. It doesn't come from taking the easy route or avoiding pain. If you're not willing to embrace suffering, then you're not willing to grow. You can't just expect to glide through life and somehow come out on top. Life isn't about avoiding hardship or trying to escape discomfort. It's about pushing through it, learning from it, and coming out stronger on the other side. The truth is, we all face struggles. They may look different from one person to another, but they're universal. Pain, failure, frustration, these are the things that force us to evolve. They shape us. They harden us. When most people encounter difficulty, they stop. They see the pain, the discomfort, the challenge, and they retreat. They think, "This is too much for me. I can't handle this." But here's the truth. Those moments of struggle are the moments that define you. They separate those who are willing to put in the work from those who aren't. You have to learn to see the pain not as something to avoid, but as a necessary part of your growth. When you start to view hardship this way, it shifts your mindset entirely. It stops being something that breaks you and starts being something that makes you stronger. You can't be afraid to hurt. You can't be afraid to feel like you're at your breaking point, because it's at that point that you start to see what you're truly made of. It's at that point that you'll find out how much you can handle, how far you can push yourself, and how much you're truly capable of. Every time you go through something difficult, you're building resilience. Every time you fight through the pain, you're building mental toughness. These things don't just come naturally. You have to earn them. And you earn them by going through the fire, by stepping into the discomfort, and by keeping going even when it feels like everything inside you is telling you to quit. The human mind and body are incredibly adaptable. When you push yourself beyond what you thought you were capable of, you don't just survive the experience, you grow from it. You become more durable, more focused, and more resilient. But you only get that if you're willing to endure the suffering. You can't skip the hard parts, the struggles, the setbacks, the failures. They are all essential for your development. When you choose the easy way out, when you avoid the pain, you stunt your growth. You stay in the same place, never advancing, never improving. And that's the worst thing you can do to yourself. Most people are afraid of pain because they associate it with weakness or failure. They think that when things get hard, it means they're not good enough. But what they don't understand is that pain is a sign of progress. It's an indication that you're testing your limits, that you're pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. If you want to reset your life, you have to change how you view pain. Stop seeing it as something to be avoided and start seeing it as an opportunity to grow. Embrace it, learn from it, and let it fuel you. Pain is also a teacher. Every time you face discomfort, you're given the opportunity to learn something about yourself. You'll learn where your limits are, and then you'll learn how to push past them. You'll learn how much mental strength you really have, and you'll discover your own inner resilience. You'll learn that what you thought were your limits were just self-imposed barriers, and once you break through those, you'll realize that you're capable of so much more than you ever imagined. And it's not just physical pain. Mental and emotional challenges are just as important to embrace. Facing rejection, failing at something important, or dealing with setbacks, all of these things are part of life's struggle. But if you refuse to face them, if you turn away from the emotional pain of failure or disappointment, you're never going to reach your full potential. You have to lean into that discomfort, face it head on, and use it to fuel your determination. When you can handle the mental and emotional challenges with the same intensity that you handle the physical ones, you'll be unstoppable. When you embrace suffering, you take control, you stop running from the hard things in life, and you start seeking them out because you know that they are the things that will shape you into the person you need to be. Pain isn't your enemy. It's the catalyst for change, the force that drives you to become better. The more you embrace it, the more you'll realize that you can handle whatever life throws at you. The harder it gets, the stronger you become. And that's how you break through and reset your life. Life is a constant battle, whether you want to admit it or not. The world doesn't owe you anything, and no one is going to hand you success on a silver platter. If you want something, you have to fight for it. No one is going to make your dreams come true. No one is going to give you a free pass. You have to get up every day, face the grind, and fight for your vision, no matter how difficult it becomes. The people who succeed are the ones who are willing to put in the work, to push through the obstacles, and to never give up, no matter how many times they fall. It's easy to look at others who seem to have everything and think, why can't I have that? Why does everything come easy for them? But the reality is that everyone faces challenges, even the ones who seem to have it all. You see the result, but you don't see the fight that went on behind the scenes. Everyone has to struggle. Everyone has to fight through their own battles. The difference is in how you respond. Some people see difficulty as a reason to quit. They see challenges as a sign that they're not meant to succeed, that it's too hard, and that they should just give up. But the people who succeed are the ones who see those same challenges as a reason to dig in their heels and keep going. When life gets tough, it's easy to want to throw in the towel. You get tired, frustrated, and overwhelmed, and the path forward seems impossible. But that's exactly when you need to fight harder. The hardest battles are the ones that are the most worth fighting. You can't just sit back and expect things to change on their own. No one is coming to save you. You are the one who has to step up, take responsibility, and push through the pain. The moment you stop fighting, you give up control. You allow life to dictate your future instead of taking charge of it yourself. If you're not willing to fight for your dreams, then you'll never get them. It's as simple as that. No one is going to just hand you the success, the happiness, the fulfillment you want. You have to earn it. And that doesn't come by sitting around and hoping that things will work out on their own. It comes from putting in the hard work, the long hours, the sacrifice, and the discipline to keep going when everything inside you is telling you to quit. It comes from facing the harsh realities of life and refusing to back down. It comes from being willing to get knocked down again, and every time you fall, getting back up stronger than before. If you want to reset your life, you have to understand that there are no shortcuts. You're going to face setbacks, failures, and challenges. That's inevitable. But the people who succeed are the ones who keep fighting, no matter how many times they're knocked down. It doesn't matter how many times you fail. What matters is how many times you get up, how many times you push through the pain and keep fighting for what you want. You have to learn how to fight for yourself, for your dreams, and for the life you want. No one else is going to do that for you. The fight isn't just about physical strength, it's mental toughness. It's about refusing to let the doubts, the fears, and the negativity dictate your actions. When you fight for your goals, you have to do it with everything you've got. You can't hold back. You can't make excuses. You can't say, well, maybe tomorrow, or I'm too tired, or I don't have the resources. You have to get creative. You have to find a way to keep moving forward, no matter how difficult it gets. Because if you keep fighting, if you keep pushing, eventually you'll break through. And this fight, it's not a one-time battle. It's a lifelong commitment. You will always be fighting for something, for your health, your career, your relationships, your goals. But that's the beauty of it. Every time you fight, every time you push through the hardship, you grow. You build a stronger foundation for your life. You start to realize that the challenges are the very things that make you stronger. The more you fight, the more you realize how capable you really are. And that's what will keep you going even when the road gets tough. Because in the end, it's not about how easy life is, it's about how willing you are to fight through the challenges, keep going, and refuse to give up. That's the kind of mindset that will change your life. That's how you reset your life. The hardest part of any journey is often the moment when you want to give up the most. It's in those times when everything inside you screams to stop, to quit, to let go, that your true strength is tested. It's easy to keep going when things are going smoothly, when progress feels natural, and when the path seems clear. But the real challenge comes when things get tough, when every step forward feels like you're trudging through mud, and when it feels like no matter how hard you push, you're not getting anywhere. It's in those moments when you want to quit the most that you have to dig deep and find a way to keep going. When you reach the point of wanting to quit, it's easy to think that you've hit a wall, that you've exhausted every option, and that there's no way to move forward. But that's exactly when you need to push harder. The human mind is incredibly powerful, but it often holds us back with self-doubt and fear. When we're faced with adversity, our first instinct is often to retreat, to find an easier path, or to seek comfort. But comfort is the enemy of progress. Growth doesn't happen when things are easy. It happens when you're forced to confront your limitations, to push past them, and to continue moving forward despite the challenges. It's when you're ready to quit that the most growth happens, because you're being tested at the deepest level. If you can push through that feeling of wanting to give up, that's when you'll break through to a new level of strength. The feeling of wanting to quit isn't a sign of weakness. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's a sign that you're pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, beyond the limits you've known up until now. Every time you fight through that feeling, you build more resilience, more determination, and more mental toughness. The key is to recognize that this moment of struggle is temporary. The pain, the frustration, the desire to stop it will pass, but only if you keep going. When you give in to the urge to quit, you stop just short of the breakthrough you need. The most successful people aren't the ones who avoid the hard times, they're the ones who push through them, who refuse to let the hard days stop them from moving forward. The truth is, most of the time, you don't realize how close you are to success until you've passed the point where you wanted to quit. The feeling of wanting to give up is often a sign that you're right on the edge of a breakthrough, and if you quit, you'll never know how close you were. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to test your limits and prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you think. Every time you push through that desire to quit, you gain confidence and you build a foundation of mental strength that can carry you through even harder times in the future. The pain you feel in those moments when you want to quit is real, but it's not permanent. It's a reminder that you're growing, that you're stretching beyond what's comfortable, and that you're on the verge of becoming something greater. Pain doesn't last forever. The satisfaction of knowing that you pushed through, that you refuse to quit, will far outweigh the temporary discomfort. The feeling of accomplishment that comes from sticking it out, from persevering when you didn't think you could, is what will fuel you in the future. It's what will keep you going the next time things get tough. But here's the thing, the choice to keep going has to come from within you. No one can make that decision for you. No one can force you to continue when you don't want to. The decision to push through, to keep fighting, even when every part of you is telling you to stop, is yours and yours alone. And it's a decision that will shape your life. Because the more you choose to keep going, the more you'll realize that quitting is never an option. It becomes a habit, a mindset. The habit of refusing to give up becomes the habit of success, of resilience, and of achievement. The road to achieving anything meaningful is never a straight line. It's filled with obstacles, setbacks, and moments where you'll feel like giving up. But those moments aren't the end of the road, they're the proving ground. They're the moments where you learn what you're truly made of. And when you refuse to quit, when you push through, even when it feels impossible, you'll find that there's no limit to what you can achieve. Excuses are the most powerful roadblocks standing between you and the life you want. They are the barriers that keep you stuck, trapped in a cycle of inaction, and prevent you from making progress. Every time you make an excuse, you're giving yourself permission to avoid doing the hard work necessary for growth. You're convincing yourself that the situation is too tough, too inconvenient, or too overwhelming. But in reality, excuses are just a way of giving up before you even start. They allow you to sidestep responsibility and continue living in the comfort zone where nothing changes. If you want to reset your life, you need to confront your excuses head on and stop letting them control you. It's easy to make excuses. Life throws challenges at us every day, and it's tempting to use those as reasons to not move forward. I don't have enough time, I'm too tired, I'm not qualified enough, or this isn't the right time. These excuses are just a way to avoid discomfort and delay taking action. They keep you from stepping into the unknown, from pushing past your limits, and from striving for something greater. But when you give in to excuses, you're giving up on the life you could have. You're allowing fear, self-doubt, and insecurity to dictate your actions. And that's how people remain stuck in mediocrity, never reaching their full potential. Excuses are the easy way out, but they're also the fastest path to failure. Everyone has their own set of challenges and struggles. The key difference between those who succeed and those who don't is how they respond to those challenges. Some people use their difficulties as a reason to quit, while others use them as fuel to push harder. The people who make excuses are the ones who let their obstacles define them. They believe that because things aren't perfect, they're not capable of moving forward. But successful people don't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect resources, or the perfect conditions. They create those conditions by refusing to accept excuses. They don't wait until everything is in their favor. They take action in spite of the difficulties. The thing about excuses is that they're rooted in fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. And that fear often paralyzes us, preventing us from even trying. When you make an excuse, you're giving into that fear. You're allowing your insecurities to control your decisions. But the truth is, fear is not a valid reason to stop moving forward. Everyone feels fear. Everyone has doubts. The difference is that those who succeed don't let those feelings stop them. They move forward anyway, regardless of how scared they might feel. Fear doesn't go away, but the more you push past it, the less power it has over you. If you want to reset your life, you have to stop accepting excuses as valid reasons for inaction. You have to make a decision to take full responsibility for your actions, and that means acknowledging that every excuse you make is just a way of avoiding the hard work necessary for growth. There will always be reasons not to move forward. You will always have obstacles, but the people who succeed are the ones who keep going anyway. They understand that excuses don't change anything. They only delay progress and prolong the cycle of frustration. You have to stop waiting for the perfect time to act. The perfect time will never come. The only time you have is now. I think about the times you've made excuses in the past. How many opportunities did you let slip by? Because you convinced yourself it wasn't the right moment. How many times did you tell yourself that you didn't have enough to succeed, or that you weren't good enough to take that next step? Every time you made an excuse, you gave up on something that could have taken you closer to your goal. But the good news is that it's never too late to start changing. The moment you stop making excuses is the moment you start taking control of your life. The moment you stop waiting for the perfect conditions is the moment you begin making progress. Making excuses is a habit, and like all habits, it can be broken. It starts with being brutally honest with yourself. Stop accepting the easy way out. Stop allowing your fear or your doubts to dictate your actions. The moment you make a decision to push forward despite the challenges, despite the discomfort, and despite your fear, is the moment your life starts to change. Excuses will always be there waiting to pull you back into your old habits, but you don't have to give in. You have the power to break free. You just have to choose to stop making excuses and start taking action. The journey to resetting your life requires a deep understanding of your personal limitations and a commitment to constantly breaking through them. We all have boundaries, both physical and mental, that we set for ourselves, often unconsciously. These boundaries are shaped by past experiences, fears, failures, and the comfort of the known. The problem is that these limits can become self-imposed prisons, holding you back from reaching your full potential. To reset your life, you must learn to challenge those limits, to expand what you believe is possible for yourself, and to constantly push beyond the confines of what you think you can do. It's about realizing that the boundaries you set are not permanent. They're only as real as you allow them to be. Many of us go through life with a fixed view of what we can accomplish. We look at our current circumstances, our past struggles, and our personal weaknesses, and we believe that's the extent of what we're capable of. We set goals based on what we think is achievable, rather than based on what we truly want to accomplish. This self-imposed limitation prevents us from dreaming big or aiming higher. We settle for mediocrity because we're afraid of what might happen if we actually stretch ourselves beyond what we've known. But here's the truth: your limits are often not the limits of your true potential. Your mind is your greatest ally when it comes to breaking through boundaries, but you have to be willing to confront it. The mind is incredibly powerful, but it's also deceptive. It will tell you that you can't, that it's too hard, or that you're not capable. It thrives on your doubts, feeding them and growing them until they become your truth. But your truth is not limited by your doubts. It's shaped by your willingness to fight through those doubts, to push past the mental barriers that you've allowed to define you. Every time you encounter a boundary, whether physical, emotional, or mental, you're presented with a choice. You can let it stop you, or you can challenge it. The more you challenge those boundaries, the more you'll realize that they were never as rigid as you thought. You don't have to accept your current limits as your permanent reality. Your growth is directly tied to your ability to push beyond the limits you've accepted in the past. And the way you do this is by taking consistent action, no matter how small. It's in those moments of discomfort, when you're about to quit, that you have to decide to take one more step. It's in those moments that you find out just how much further you can go. Physical limits are one of the most obvious examples of boundaries we set for ourselves. We convince ourselves that we're too weak, too tired, or too old to achieve certain things. But the human body is incredibly adaptable. It can withstand far more than we often give it credit for. The key to breaking through physical limits is learning to push through the discomfort and the fatigue, to keep going when every fiber of your being wants to stop. When you train your body to ignore the voice that says, "I can't," and replace it with, "I will," you start to unlock new levels of strength. Every time you push past your physical boundaries, you prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you imagine. The body follows the mind, and when the mind learns to reject limits, the body follows suit. But it's not just about physical limits. Mental and emotional boundaries are just as powerful, if not more so, in determining your success. Fear, doubt, self-criticism, all of these are mental limits we impose on ourselves. We often believe that we can't take on new challenges or go after bigger goals because we fear failure or rejection. We talk ourselves out of pursuing our dreams before we even begin. But these mental boundaries are just illusions, stories we tell ourselves based on past experiences. Every time you confront a mental barrier, whether it's fear, insecurity, or doubt, you have the opportunity to break free from it. When you take on something that scares you, something that challenges the very beliefs you hold about yourself, you're expanding your limits and showing yourself what's truly possible. Breaking through these boundaries requires more than just physical strength. It requires resilience, perseverance, and an unshakable belief that you're capable of achieving more than you think. It means rejecting the idea that there's a limit to what you can do, and instead believing that every time you push beyond what you thought was possible, you're opening up a new realm of possibilities for yourself. The more you break through these limits, the more you will begin to realize that you're capable of far more than you ever imagined. And once you've broken through those initial boundaries, the process doesn't stop. It becomes a continuous cycle of growth where each challenge becomes an opportunity to stretch yourself further, to reset your limits and go after even bigger goals. You'll discover that the boundaries you once believed were unbreakable were nothing more than stepping stones toward a greater version of yourself. To reset your life, you must confront your excuses, push through your limits, and embrace the discomfort of growth. It's about taking responsibility for your actions, rejecting the easy path, and consistently challenging yourself to go further than you ever thought possible. The road will be tough, but it's the struggle that shapes you into a stronger, more resilient person. The power to change your life lies in your willingness to keep going no matter how hard it gets.